Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive right in, because honestly, the sheer scale of the historic news cycle from June 2026 is absolutely staggering. We're looking at a moment in time where unprecedented milestones in space, massive technological leaps, and some really tense geopolitical shifts are literally all colliding at once. And what's truly fascinating about this? Well, these aren't just abstract headlines happening in a vacuum somewhere. The decisions being made right now in boardrooms, situation rooms, and launch pads, they are sending direct ripples straight into your hometown, your grocery bill, and even your local schools. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the creation of the world's very first trillionaire, look at AI's real-world impacts, connect global conflict directly to your food supply, examine the World Cup immigration clashes, and finally, discuss the aging of the president.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the first trillionaire.
Just look at that staggering number for a second, $2.1 trillion. SpaceX just pulled off the largest initial public offering in history. Their shares absolutely soared, a 19% pop on the very first day, closing at $160.95. This historic surge gave SpaceX a total market value of $2.1 trillion, instantly vaulting it past giants like Broadcom and Tesla to become the sixth most valuable public company in the United States. And the crazy part? This was heavily powered by an army of everyday retail investors who basically threw $100 billion in orders at the stock. The direct result of this financial tidal wave, Elon Musk has been officially crowned the world's first trillionaire.
But, this certainly didn't happen overnight. Musk founded SpaceX way back in 2002, and his core strategy has always been chasing bold superlatives. The firsts, the biggests, the quickest. The goal was to capture the public's imagination to help fund his massive ambitions. We really see the turning point hit in 2008 with a crucial NASA cargo contract, which paved the way for the first private human flight in 2020. So this quarter-century strategy of basically chasing superlatives culminated in the 2026 IPO. And this event was so massive, it generated an estimated $500 million just in fees for the banks handling the deal. Talk about a payday. Now, beyond the massive rockets, the real financial engine driving this valuation is actually artificial intelligence. SpaceX isn't just about going to Mars anymore. They're targeting a mind-bending $28.5 trillion addressable market. And this is primarily driven by their plans to build a massive network of AI data centers right up in orbit. It's a total game changer.
Moving right along to Section 2, AI's real-world impacts.
There is a fascinating, almost jarring contrast happening in the AI industry right now. On one hand, we're seeing these incredible local financial windfalls. For example, Meta is building a $10 billion data center in Richland Parish, Louisiana, and it's literally flooding the local government with tax revenue. But then on the flip side, we're seeing incredibly severe regulatory crackdowns at both the federal and state levels. The Trump administration just banned foreign governments and individuals from using Anthropic's most powerful models, specifically Fable 5 and Mythos 5, has actually forced the company to shut off access globally just to comply. Meanwhile, a whole coalition of state attorneys general, led by New York, just slapped OpenAI with these massive broad subpoenas over consumer data and safety. So it is very much a boom and crackdown environment right now.
So how does that boom actually impact everyday people? Well, $50,935. That is the maximum bonus being handed out to teachers in the Richland Parish School District this year. How is that even possible? Because Meta utilized an alternative tax program during its data center construction, which resulted in a single, massive $22.4 million tax payment to the parish in May. And thanks to an old 1968 ordinance, a huge chunk of that goes directly into teachers' pockets. For some of these educators, this single AI-funded bonus is larger than their entire annual base salary. Just incredible.
Okay, let's shift gears for Section 3, global conflict and food supply.
Let's trace the geopolitical supply chain here, because it's like a giant row of dominoes. Step 1. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East has created a severe bottleneck at the Strait of Hormuz. Step 2. Because natural gas is heavily used to produce vital fertilizers like ammonia and urea, these supply shocks have sent fertilizer prices absolutely skyrocketing. Step 3. Farmers around the world simply can't afford the fertilizer, so they cut usage, which severely depresses global crop yields. And finally, Step 4. That scarcity drives up the price of food for consumers everywhere. Now, right now, U.S. officials report an 80% confidence that a peace deal with Iran is close, which would unblock this crucial route. But as of today, the market remains incredibly volatile. At the very center of all these global maneuvers is a stark human element. To put this into perspective, the CEO of Fertiglobe, a major fertilizer manufacturer, recently warned that fertilizers are responsible for producing the calories for roughly half of the world's 8 billion people. Let that sink in. The threat of a systemic agri-food shock is so severe right now that the European Union just had to issue a €540 million financial bailout simply to help their farmers afford fertilizer and ensure basic food security.
This brings us to Section 4, the World Cup immigration clash. Domestically, the Trump administration's strict travel and immigration crackdowns are having some major unintended consequences on the 2026 World Cup, which, as we know, the U.S. is co-hosting. We're seeing players, staff, and officials encountering severe entry barriers. For instance, a FIFA-selected referee from Somalia, Omar Atan, was questioned for 10 hours in Miami and then actually removed over alleged ties to suspect groups. The Iranian national team was forced to completely relocate their training base from Arizona down to Tijuana, Mexico. Ghana's Thomas Partey, his visa was flat-out rejected. And as a direct result of all these logistical and geopolitical hurdles, 70% of U.S. hotel operators in the host cities are reporting that their bookings are tracking well below initial forecasts.
Now, what's really striking here is the sharp contrast between the stated goal and the reality on the ground. The official World Cup tagline from the administration is literally, "America welcomes the world." They have a stated aim of hosting the safest tournament in history and generating up to $17.2 billion in GDP. But the reality, with international athletes, officials, and everyday fans being turned away or heavily delayed, has sparked widespread global criticism. Not to mention, it follows a 5.5% drop in international arrivals to the U.S. just the prior year.
Finally, we turn to Section 5, the aging of the president.
The White House is currently managing a very delicate public image. On one side, there's a highly deliberate, omnipresent stamina strategy. The Trump campaign makes absolutely sure he is highly visible. We're talking marathon Oval Office sessions, cold calling reporters, and they're even planning a first-of-its-kind cage match on the White House lawn just to project physical vigor. But concurrently, the press has documented visible signs of aging. We've seen cameras zooming in on bruised hands, footage that appears to show him nodding off at an NBA Finals game, and occasional geographical slip-ups, like confusing Greenland with Iceland or mistakenly calling the Strait of Hormuz the Strait of Iran.
The rigorous demands of the Oval Office are immense for anyone, but especially at 80 years old. The president and his team consistently try to project youth. They vehemently deny any decline, and they frequently contrast him with his predecessor. In fact, Trump recently referred to Joe Biden, who left office before turning 82, as a warning about the hazards of aging in office. It's become a central recurring theme in exactly how the administration presents its leadership on the world stage. Which brings us to our final takeaway. We've traced the path today from a $2.1 trillion space IPO straight down to a Louisiana teacher's bonus check. We've seen exactly how a blocked strait in the Middle East impacts the threat of global starvation and how domestic border policies are reshaping the world's biggest sporting event right in our backyard. So I leave you with this question. As technology creates trillionaires and geopolitics reshapes our borders, how will these massive interconnected global shifts rewrite your daily life tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.